The other day, I was playing through an intense horror game. The kind that makes your butthole lips pucker up in fear and your sweat glands tingle with anticipation. The game was Darkwood, a top-down thriller horror that uses a small vision cone in lieu of the classic third or first-person limited vision spooky uncertainty. Somewhere along my playthrough, during a night where I had to protect my shelter from fleshy, shambling entities, while I heard the distant screams of damned ones less fortunate than I was, I became inexplicably aroused. As I caved in the head of a babbling, incomprehensible native with a splintering piece of wood I picked up in a shed and attached some rusty nails to, I found myself wanting to go to my adult site of choice to see women do unspeakable things like go through 90% of a Lego build before smashing it on the ground. This unexpected arousal vexed me greatly, and I briefly considered that I'd finally gone psychopathic and that it was time to orally intake some medicine in the shape of a 12-gauge shotgun shell. However, I stayed my hand, and to make sure this was a situation unique to me and I wasn't becoming Jeffrey Dahmer number 2, I brought up Bing and I typed up, "Why am I getting horny playing scary games?" Apparently, as it turns out, this is actually a pretty common phenomenon. Misattribution of arousal, according to psychiatrists, or scaroused, according to Urban Dictionary, this kind of strange behavior occurs when our brain gets certain signals and then mixes up the reasoning for those signals with a very separate reason. Say, for example, I don't know, BDSM, where, you get hit, but then you actually like it and you get turned on more, which is, kind of weird, but that's what's called a kink, it's not supposed to be there. This makes a little more sense in the context of things like BDSM, all that humiliation and pain has to go somewhere, I guess. But what about more straight-edged Bible-reading, khaki-wearing soccer dads? Does this same rule apply to them? If God appeared before them in the shape of a burning bush, would they feel divine fear in their hearts and then cream their pants? Well, according to a 1974 experiment by eggheads Donald Dutton and Arthur Aaron, yeah, they would probably spill divine seed. These guys performed 2 experiments, giving out a hot chick's number while crossing a suspension bridge, and giving unexpected shocks to both their surveyed guy and a hot chick. Through thematic apperception tests, which is just a fancy term for the horny calculator, it was found most guys actually found the hot chick even hotter when both the surveyed dude and the hot chick experienced the same adrenaline and pain they did, like being over a bridge or getting shocked with electricity. I'm not smart enough to actually interpret what that means for mind science, but that kind of worms is best spent on someone smarter than me in another video. As an aside, this is where the phrase suspension bridge effect comes from, that effect that where if 2 people almost die in the same situation they'll end up falling in love or something. Anyway, what we can glean off of this is that being scared as hell gives you the same adrenaline as getting awooga eyes when big boobies give the monkey brain neuron activation material. This is when I realized that maybe it wasn't so weird that I got a big pulsating cock while looking back into the temporal black abyss in Darkwood and screaming while I burned it all away with a flamethrower. This also got the gears in my wheelhouse turning to a very specific correlation. If you're gonna be good at making horror games, doesn't that mean you have to also be really good in bed? I'm being completely serious, by the way. To make a good horror game, you need to be a master of pacing, and to be able to masterfully fine-tune anticipation, action, prolonged delay, climax, and winding down. When put into this kind of lens, fighting ancient disturbed shadow beings is pretty much the same thing as going to town on a beautiful big booty Latina girl. I'll break it down phase by phase and understand how to make a good horror game while also becoming a fantastic physical lover. I'll use a typical day cycle in Darkwood to demonstrate what I mean and compare it to a date. The first phase is build up through expectation. When you swipe right on that dating profile, you're expecting one of 2 things to happen. You get catfished and end up disappointed and a little bit angry, or things get really wet and sloppy by the end of the night. This anticipation of whether you're going to end up with a bountiful salami or a wet noodle is already a part of the experience, kind of like an emotional appetizer before the real feast begins. It's an effective cocktail of anxiety mixed with hope and fear, a myriad swirl of feelings that's akin to pulling tickets for the lottery. Maybe you buy some penis gloves at your local Walgreens, knowing you might get laid. But will you? And will it even be with the one you saw in that pic climbing the Himalayas? The uncertainty of it is certainly exhilarating. Darkwood operates in much the same way. It works this way. During the day, you gather stuff, and during the night, you hunker down in a shelter and pray you don't die. It's kind of like Minecraft, except instead of being like Steve, you're more like Shrek, plus more tumors and deformities, and also everything will kill you really easily. It's kind of not like Minecraft, but it is? I'm gonna stop talking about that. Here's what you should be getting. Gathering resources is thrilling, because you're racing against not only enemies and darkness, but time itself, and you don't know if you have enough to last through the night or even if you brought the right things by the time you get home. Setting up the situation you find yourself in is just as important as anything that occurs within it, and is an important thing to remember whenever you make a game or whenever you try to have game. People play horror games because they want to scream at night, and people want to use Tinder because they want to scream at night. Set up the scene correctly, and it becomes addicting. The next phase is foreplay. Let's say you get lucky and somehow the girl you're meeting really is a world-renowned European adult video star. She wants to try something exotic and foreign to her, so you bring her to McDonald's. You have your cute little corner store McDonald's date, and now you're in your dumpy apartment touching intestine tips. The tongue is the end of your intestinal system, by the way. I just thought you should know that. Foreplay is where the actual action starts. Getting a little touchy-feely, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't, adapting to what you already know, into a new experience. This out-of-the-box thinking applies when you're trying to feel up your partner through their clothes, and it also applies when you see the silhouettes of malevolent shadows pass through the grimy windows in your dilapidated cabin while you set up a rusty bear trap in front of the door. Foreplay is the bridge between building up and action, where it begins to transition from preparation of resources to the usage of it. From Trojan condoms to homemade single-shot shotguns, every single material and every ability you've learned counts. If you're lucky, you'll be alive by the end of the night. And then, the main event, the action. These weird mudmen begin to try to get in. You hear the dried grass being crushed underfoot while a naked guy covered in mud tries to get in through a window, but he doesn't really understand the concept of transparency, so he's kind of just banging on it and screaming. Another one steps into a trap outside, and then you hear the sickening sound of crunched bones, instantly drowned out by gurgled yelling. You feel safe for, well, a little bit, but despite your best efforts, and as much as you barricaded the shoddy entrance and you boarded up those glass windows, the monsters and their inexorable push is finally rewarded. The nails you hammered in begin to give way, and all those bear traps you set up have been sprung. It's now too late to stop them. They begin to penetrate the entrance, like you begin to penetrate the entrance of your partner at around the same time. The action now is sweaty, adrenaline-filled, ever-changing and twitchy, whether you're fumbling your shotgun shell back into the barrel or grinding pelvises in a spiderweb position with your partner so scandalous it makes the Kama Sutra blush. In both situations, you're now hyper-focused, with only one thought in your mind as pure instinct kicks in. Keep going. Seconds pass. Hell, maybe even 1 minute. You hold on for dear life, trying to keep your soul in your body as you do everything in the name of prolonging your own survival. While you're in your ultra instinct state, you finally see that metaphorical morning sun looming over into the horizon. Almost there. So close. Almost there. And then... climax. Reaching the tipping point, the sun has finally come. And so have you. An intense mix of ecstasy, relief, and joy radiate from your body in waves. What lasts seconds feels like minutes of feelings crashing at once into an ocean wave that you drown under. And then as quickly as it arrives, the moment escapes you, leaving you with complete, utter silence. A kind of dead silence that accompanies the end of any strenuous action. It's eerie and a little bit cold, but this silence also means one thing. It's over, and you won. The wind down is just as important as any other element of a good session. Whether it was a gaming session or a sex session, your nerves need a break after all. It wouldn't be fair to completely fry them. They need to recharge, and also let you bask in your accomplishment just a little bit more. As you sit, or lay there, drenched in a layer of sweat, despite how laborious and unsettling it was, you can't help but want to do it again. Over and over and over again. You know, a cycle of adrenaline coursing through your veins. Preparation, foreplay, action, climax, wind down. Good horror is like good sex, so perfectly paced that it keeps you coming for more, metaphorically and physically. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Well, I guess you could do one of those things. 2 is really pushing it. I mean, if you do 3, like, I guess I'll kiss your feet and call you king. I don't know. But, you know, comment, like, and subscribe. One of those things is good. 2 of those things better. 3 of those things, I don't know. You would do whatever. Alright, that's it. Bye-bye.